I'm Joey Montoya. I'm a teacher at Placer High School. I teach physical education here, and I've been the head football coach here for 12 years. I also have volunteer-led with an organization called Young Life, which is an outreach ministry, obviously away from school. Here the last 12 years, several years prior to coming to Placer. My wife is an assistant soccer coach here. She's also a teacher. She's actually an administrator at another school. I'm also an endurance athlete. Essentially, the day football ends, I say run the season begins. And it's a great way for me to get my mind occupied on something else, because if not, I'd think about football too much. So it kind of balances out my life a little bit. And it's another one of those things that takes incredible discipline, very strategic in your training, if you want to do it right. At least for me, I have some marks that I want to hit, and I have goals that I've set. And so because of that, it holds me accountable and it allows me to work really, really hard for it. I make sure that I do it in a way that it does not affect our family and it affects our family time. And so between being able to balance things and keep our family a priority, it's allowed me to do this. And I've got two hobbies in life, coaching and football. And so coaching and running. Luckily, my wife allows me to do both of them. Been married for 11 years, and I've got a 5-year-old daughter, a almost 3-year-old daughter, and then one on the way that's due in July. And so everything I try to do kind of fits around what's best for our family, what works with them. And fortunately, my wife Megan has been awesome that she allows me to do all these things. Placer's got such an incredible history dating back to the early 1900s and throughout the decades. Going back to my grandfather was a head football coach here from 1972 to 1982 with Tom Johnson, and they kind of created something very special here that was a legacy that essentially carried on since those times. They won 5 CIF titles and 2 state championships and I think 7 league titles or something like that, and they kind of basically put Placer football at the next level on the map. And then through the 80s and through the 90s and through the 2000 decades, it's been kind of up and down in terms of the wins and the losses. But many of the traditions have remained. The respect for the program has remained. And so when the position opened up in 2007, I had always dreamed about coming back here because this is where I grew up in Auburn. I always wanted to raise my family in Auburn. I wanted to teach at Placer. I knew what kind of a special place it was. And I just thought I was going to be older when the job came open. I was 27, I believe, when the job came open. And fortunately for me, I went for it. It came down to 5 guys, and it came down to 2 guys. And then when I got that call sometime in April 2007, I knew that my dream had come true. But I also knew that it was going to be an incredible challenge because of where we wanted to take the program and kind of the goals that I had set out for myself. And so it came down to Randy Blankenship and myself. And Randy Blankenship, who's a friend of mine and is a legendary coach and is actually a guy that I have learned from. When it came down to Randy and I, because of Randy's legendary status, I just figured, well, hey, I gave it my best shot, but it's probably gonna go to Randy, just in terms of experience. But what I had on my side is, when I was an alumni, 2, I was younger and cheaper, and 3, Randy was close to retirement, and he's actually retired as a teacher, even though he's still a football coach down there. So I knew that I had those things going for me, and those things, along with how I did the interview, led me to getting the job. I think in order to be a great coach, you have to be a great teacher. That's essentially what it is. The things that I love about coaching that is a little different than teaching is the intensity of the relationships that you have with the kids that you work with. You see the kids that you teach every day and all those things, but with football, you're not only practicing, but it's the type of sports that lends itself kind of like being in the military, where you go through these very, very hard things as a group, and you suffer, you hurt, you're challenged, and there's something that really just connects a group of guys, or really any team that goes through something like that. And so because of that, the level of relationships intensifies. And we have team dinners together. We spend every Thursday night together as a team. We do a Friday team dinner. You have the games, you have the bus rides. And so it really lends itself to getting to know the kids that you work with on a different level, which is really my favorite part of coaching, honestly, is getting to know these guys and these kids at such a impressionable time of their life and such a vital time of their life, to get to know them on that level is really what keeps you going. I love football, don't get me wrong, but what really keeps me going is the kids I get to work with and the coaches I get to work with. And in terms of what I teach here, I teach physical education. In the fall, I teach one weight training class. I have one freshman PE class, which I love to do, and then I have my football PE class. And then in the spring, I have 2 weight training classes and a football class. And so the benefits of teaching PE is you don't have to bring a lot of out-of-class grading with you. If I were to teach English or math, some of these other subjects, in my opinion, it would be a lot more difficult to be a head coach because you have to grade papers. You're constantly having to your lesson plans change day in and day out. When you teach weight training and PE, your lesson plans are pretty consistent. They're not necessarily a stretch on the mind. Whereas if I'm teaching AP Calculus, that's just a different level. Or another coach that taught English, you're reading and grading a lot of papers. Mm-hmm. Teaching PE allows me to not have to have so much after school hours work to do on, where I can really focus on the football end of things. I think the things that they take away from my classes is one, how to properly do things. A lot of kids enter the class not knowing a thing about weight training, not knowing a thing about technique, not knowing what works, what body part, and all these different things. And so, we create a safe environment where kids of all skill levels, whether they're a beginner or an expert, and we break it down at the most basic level. And so the first thing is that they get to learn things that hopefully they're going to take with them for the rest of their life. And we talk about nutrition, we talk about different things like that. We kind of try to get try to encompass the whole deal with health and fitness. But the thing about weight training is it's an elective class. It's a class that many kids take over and over. And the only thing that matters in there is you're willing to show up, dressed, ready to work. And if you do those things, they're going to see physical changes in their bodies in a positive way that builds confidence, that motivates them, that makes them feel better about themselves, that makes them feel better just in general. And so all those things are huge perks. We have a couple days a week, 2 to 3 days a week where we run. We have some type of cardio. We do like a CrossFit circuit every once in a while in the class where we're kind of mixing up things. We've done a P90X workout. So we have a wide range of things that we do, from core exercises to full body workouts, to high level cardiorespiratory workouts that really challenges their body. And so for them, they get to take a lot away from it, because at the end of the day, when you're 40 years old, you want to be able to know how to keep yourself in shape, and this class for sure lends itself to that. Okay. The first thing that I look for in our kids, if they're going to be a part of our program, they have to commit to a couple things. Number one, they've got to buy into what we're doing. And so they've got to be in, preferably our football PE class, which, is year-round. Our summer program, that is usually a 4-week-long summer program. They need to be at the practices. And so the commitment end is number one. And number two, they've got to buy into putting the team ahead of themselves, being a team player, being a selfless person. If they can buy into those two things, it does not matter what skill level they are. They are a part of the team. They are a part of our football family. They're part of the brotherhood, so to speak, that we try to create here, because we've had kids that we call them program guys that really don't have the athletic skills or talents to contribute in a significant way and at significant time in the game. But they're a part of the team. They have their role. That's the thing I love about football, is everybody has a role. And it all matters. And just like most things in life, all the behind the scene things that no one ever sees is really what makes the final product on the field, come to fruition. So everybody has a role. But if you're our best player in the world, or if you're the quote unquote worst player on the team, you're a part of it. You're respected. You're treated with dignity. You're loved. You're cared about. And I always tell kids this. I say, if you commit to being in our program all 4 years, and you play football, it will change your life. It will take a kid who's very fortunate and who has a great family life, and it will just build on what your parents and those values that your parents have installed into you, and it will help further you along in that process. And then it'll take the other kids who maybe have had tough upbringings, who have maybe don't have a healthy family structure, and it will completely change their lives in such a positive way. And we've had so many kids that have played for us over the years that, had there not been football, who knows where they would have ended up. But because they were a part of the program, because they decided to be a part of something bigger than themselves, it changed their lives for the positive. And so, when it comes to picking out the traits for a position, it's funny. We do games in our football PE class with strategy behind them. We'll do this kind of a combative, fun game in the wrestling room where it's kind of like a king of the mat type deal. But through that game, I'm able to see, okay, here's about 15 kids that are staying back. Those guys are probably going to be on the offensive side of the ball. Okay, there's the one kamikaze guy that went over. He was the first guy out, but he just went for it. He's got to be on special teams. All these guys are up front. They're just trying to get after. Those guys are going to be our defensive players. And so we can do things like that because every position does have its own personality. It's interesting. You have those stereotypical things that people talk about in positions, and many of them are stereotypes because they're true. We try to put our athletes in places and positions that fit their talents, but also fit their personalities in the best way.